Hey, hey, hey! Happy Tuesday! Happy Tuesday, episode 35. Go Fund Yourself. JD Gagnon here. My good friend Kara, what's up?
It has been a long week, hey? I had to check the day this morning too.
Kind of feels like it should be Friday or something.
Friday every day this week. But it's a short week. Maybe that's why it feels so long. We've got to cram our usual 195 hours into 3 days.
Yeah.
That's
wait, 3 days? Thursday's not a holiday.
Oh,
I was like, what? I've got booked meetings all day Thursday. Anyways, what are we covering today?
I'm really excited about today because it's the first time in the history of Go Fund Yourself that everyone's working together. That's what today is about. There's an Interpol notice out for CZ. Canada has combined forces. The SEC and the CFTC agree on something. Euler's giving money back. It's just like a feel-good Tuesday, All
right, we'll roll with that. All right, welcome back. Quick shout out, our friends at Krypton. I've wore this before, but I love
nice,
Krypton.
Though.
They're good friends. It brings out the color of my eyes, I think. Maybe not, I don't know. Anyways, okay, where are we starting? Tee it up.
We're starting with red flags. So big news was that Interpol put out a red notice against CZ, the Binance CEO, but it didn't. No, there's not even a maybe. It's just a no.
Yeah, it's a no. It didn't actually.
It's a super no.
This is like, you can maybe put up the banner or the thing.
I've got two banners because they're specific. And what's really interesting, what I want to talk about after we've talked about the news itself, is the FUD headline, of course, right? Is the critical thinking surrounding it.
Yeah. So to sum up what happened, if this was like a crypto Twitter debacle yesterday, Kobe obviously, likes to stir the pot every now and then, says and does some funny things. Usually it's kind of tongue in cheek, but he's got such a following now that it kind of goes gangbusters occasionally. And so that's what happened yesterday. Like he typed something into to this hash creator and or encryptor, and it gave him a sequence that, anyways, there was a bunch of posts. It was like total speculation, I think, just saying, hey, CZ's got a red notice, kind of thumbing his nose at the whole situation. A few people took it seriously. A few more people went and photoshopped some websites and put a picture of CZ on the Interpol red notice website and all this other shit. Turns out didn't happen. Well,
you don't know that for sure. I mean,
no, we don't know it for sure, but I think Binance came out and said, we have not received a red notice, and neither has CZ. So I think it would be pretty damning if they had, and they came out publicly and said they hadn't. I'm sure that that's a problem, but nonetheless, the rumor mills went bananas. Everybody's freaking out. BNB tumbled. I'm in a whole bunch of groups with like whale groups and other people that have been around for a long time, and they're all panicking, pulling assets out of Binance and blah, blah, blah. I'm going, holy cow, guys, like, let's just chill here for a minute. Whether CZ is, even if, let's just say worst case scenario, let's say CZ is in fact given a red note or has a red notice for him for his arrest, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't mean Binance is dead. I mean, it would suck. It would be a big problem. And I'm sure there would be some like transitory issues, maybe not transitory, but there'd be some issues. But it's not going to be like everything in Binance isn't going to just go to zero. I mean, they have hundreds, possibly thousands of employees. The company is intended to stand on its own. And if CZ has some sort of arrest warrant out for him, it has something, it would have to do with him personally being negligent. Not necessarily Binance. Although, if he's negligent, then there's probably arguments that the institution itself may have issues. But long story short, a lot of chaos over the last 24 hours for no reason. Even Bitcoin, I think we saw when this all went around, which is unfortunate because this looks really bad. We talk a lot about like regulation and regulators and all this. Like the problem with social media, and this isn't just unique to crypto and blockchain. This is now unique to most markets in many ways. We saw this with the bank runs. We were talking about it, the proliferation of social media and just how plugged in people are to social media and getting what they perceive to be news from social media posts from citizen journalists. There's a lot of
this is the authority fallacy, right? This is the concept of I trust that person without actually validating their authority on a topic. So while you might trust Kobe for, I don't know, alpha, dank memes, something like that, he's not an Interpol agent. So maybe you don't trust him about that, maybe.
There is speculation that he's a Fed, so I don't know. That's all a big joke too, though, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, but it is a big joke. At least me saying it's a big joke. But it just kind of goes to show how easily, let's call it manipulated. I don't think Kobe's intention was to manipulate the market at all. He's just not really that guy. He's been in the space for 100 years and is worth a lot of money, so he doesn't need to fuck around like this. But anyways, it doesn't look good for the space if, you know, some Twitter influencer posts something that is, again, probably a joke. Well, wasn't. I'm positive it was a joke. That actually impacts the market in a very significant way. So like market cap movements, you know, in the hundreds of millions or billions is insane. Obviously on the back of a tweet of someone that is important to the space. So anyways, is CZ have a red notice? I don't think so. Maybe, unlikely.
So the reason that I have two different articles about this is that CoinDesk's article is super funny. CoinDesk's article is like, we love Kobe. He guessed it. He guessed it right. Oh my good. Like I felt like I was at a carnival reading this CoinDesk article about how CZ probably has a red notice, but it's hidden. They're hiding it. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Crypto Slate, meanwhile, put out an article that said basically the opposite thing. They were like, here's the tweet. We checked the Interpol website.
No dice.
That's it. That's all we got. Everyone has reached out to Interpol. They're not going to say anything. Like, I'm sure their PR person is off for Easter already, you know.
Or they just don't really care what crypto Twitter has to say about it.
Like, it's just not that important to them. But they don't have a public red notice. And if they had a red notice, they are typically public. So Binance would likely not deny having one because that would be very implicatory for them. Right. But I just thought that the difference between these two articles is interesting to look at because CoinDesk probably is seen as having more authority than Crypto Slate, just like on a day-to-day basis to noobs in the space, that kind of thing. And we're not necessarily checking who the journalist is or what their writing is normally like. We just get caught up in that hype. But you also could have done your own primary look, just gone to the Interpol red notice site, which I did last night. It's easy.
I've got two kind of thoughts to this. So the first one is the citizen journalist thing is both. It's very much a double-edged sword because they're some of the greatest investigative journalism, i.e. Project Veritas, some of these other ones. There's left-leaning, right-leaning investigative journalists that have done amazing work and that have surfaced things that no mainstream media ever would. But the downside is there's also other people masquerading as citizen journalists that don't have any journalistic integrity. Again, I'm not implying this is Kobe. I'm not, you know, I would suspect that he assumed everybody would know that was a freaking joke. I don't know. And, you know, people make mistakes and so on in terms of their reporting and in an effort to get things out quick. Sometimes you misstate things and whatever, and we'll always do our best to try to correct any misstatements. But anyways, we have to be careful, increasingly more careful, because people are assigning more and more value to independent citizen journalists for good reason if they're good journalists. But then there's other people that kind of get grouped in with good journalists that might not be. So that's first thought. Something to think about when you're looking at crypto Twitter, people on crypto Twitter reporting news. Like, do we think they have a certain level of journalistic integrity, or is it just clickbait? Is it like what is it? The other thought that I have is normally I would say without much hesitation that if Binance came out and said, no, we did not receive any indication of a red notice, that would surely be true. But what we've seen in the wake of, you know, these bank runs and a lot of this other stuff is because of how fast things unravel, these institutions are actually giving false senses of security, like Silvergate, SVB, a Signature and the like. Many of them were saying everything's fine. Like we don't need to pull assets out. Everything's fine. That was an incredible misstatement. And the U.S. government is also now changing kind of their characterization of what is actually backstopped, which deposits are actually backstopped. Because at first it was all deposits. And now they're saying, well, maybe not all deposits, even though they used that to convince people to put their money back in that had taken it out, and many did. And now many of them might not actually have coverage for their deposits. So there's a lot of weird shit going on. So normally I would say I completely agree. I don't think there's a red notice, but in this case,
who knows?
I don't know.
I also have to say that I very casually am like, you should fact check and you should go to the horse's mouth and check it out yourself. But like you say, one, they could be lying. Two, if you aren't that versed in doing actual research, like not just Googling something, but finding the sources and wading through all of that and finding the journal article and so on and so forth, you might not know what to believe, right? If somebody has photoshopped the Interpol website, not everybody has the conviction to go check the Interpol website and see if that Photoshop, like, was it real? Was it not real, right? There's so much misinformation. And if you also can't trust journalistic media because it's clickbait, you're supposed to trust it.
You know, that's actually a really good point. I think it's just on all of us. Like, this is something that's been discussed a lot lately with AI. And, you know, I mean, we've seen some pretty incredible demonstrations, especially private ones, of some insanely powerful AI models and platforms beyond what we're all seeing with GTP4, which is in and of itself incredible. But we have to be careful. Like, the deep fake videos and all that stuff are super simple to do now. Like, I've seen many where they have like perfect photorealistic video of almost any celebrity, their voice perfectly matched, and you can tell it to say whatever it wants. So you could have a video of Trump talking about how much he loves Biden. And it would be very, very, very difficult to tell that it isn't true, other than the fact that he says he loves Biden, which would never happen. But the point is,
I'm going to deep fake you for our show from now on. Like, whenever you
probably should. It would be better, actually, because then I would just say on the show whatever you want me to say, which would probably be better. But anyways, I think we need to have a healthy dose of skepticism here. Like, just because you see something, even previously, you could create videos, splice things together. Somebody that was fairly talented manually could do a lot of that stuff already. Photoshop has been pretty powerful for a long time, making mediocre, attractive people look really attractive for the last couple of decades.
Don't talk about me like that.
Well, don't Photoshop all your photos then, and then I won't have to make fun of you.
How am I supposed to get Twitter famous?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have hair in most of my Photoshop photos. So like, we all have our things. But all this joking aside, I think, you know, take a serious dose of skepticism when you see some of this shit, because it's pretty easy to do now, especially with AI. So anyways, Absolutely. All right, next.
You know, we say Photoshop, but like, I think Photoshop is Kleenex now. You know, people are actually using Figma and Canva and Express and.
Yeah, color me biased, but there's very little that competes, at least for manual work, with the Adobe suite.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm sure that you could throw an Interpol website together on Canva.
Sure.
If you had to,
you don't even have to throw the whole website together. All you have to do is take a photo, match the font, and just overlay. Like, it's match the font.
All right.
But anyways,
I shouldn't have started that.
Even I can do it, which is like, that's saying something. If I can do it simply, we got problems.
Okay, crypto arms race, because nobody's told me to stop. Canada is back in the race, if you want to look at it like that. So 3 major Canadian crypto companies have decided to combine. They are Wonderfy, CoinSquare, and CoinSmart. What's really interesting about this is that there was actually a previous merger acquisition that tried to occur between 2 of them just about a year ago, and it blew up. Like, it was kind of big on Canada crypto Twitter, which is like, you know, 10 of us. We all cared a lot. But essentially, at one time, they were already going to combine. They couldn't agree to some terms. Adding the third party in seems to have helped. And we are going to have a new company that's going to offer all kinds of things, including crypto wagers, yields, basically everything. Basically, all the things that you want to do with your crypto in Canada is going to be offered by one company. people are excited about this. And there were quite a few quotes that I found, like from O'Leary, saying that this is the innovation for Canada. This is the way to go forward. This is how we know that Canada's back on the map. This is how, we're going to set standards for the world. And I really like that sentiment because of the crypto arms race. But for me, it actually just means fewer options of what to do with my money.
Yes and no. So this is a wildly polarizing topic, obviously, crypto regulation. But Canada did something that I don't love, and that is they blanket said all of it's a security, period, end of story, and it all must be done under the Ontario Securities Commission and IROC. IROC is a regulatory body for Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada is what it stands for. It's very similar to like FINRA and others here in the US. But anyways, I wasn't a huge fan of that. Most people aren't, that it's just blanket securities. But what is promising here, and I think this is a testament to how resilient the space will be as regulation comes in. Everybody's thinking that, oh, regulation is just going to kill us. Maybe momentarily it'll suck, it'll sting. But fairly soon after, you'll see rising from the ashes a lot of platforms, and in this case, deeply funded platforms that have a lot of support because now it's regulated and they know they're not doing something illegal. Kevin O'Leary, again, I've been a huge fan of O'Leary as an entrepreneur for years. He can be a bit of a jerk sometimes, but I don't mind that because at least he says, so can I, but he says what he thinks. And I appreciate that. It's a lot less fluffy nonsense. The problem with O'Leary here is that he is in deep shit because of the FTX thing. And so now all of a sudden he's all about regulation. Now, to his credit, his wealth has been established because he has a mutual fund investment company. So O'Leary Funds. And so he is deeply involved in regulation, deeply understands it, is very comfortable with securities laws. And so that's kind of where this is. So, but anyways, all of this to say, the space is resilient. And there is, although there was a lot of people annoyed, similar to me, similar to you, there's also a lot of people now saying, okay, well, it is what it is. What's the path forward? Now, do I think that that's going to be meaningfully influential for the rest of the space? No, I don't think anybody gives a shit what Canada does, to be honest. And especially because it came across quite willy-nilly. Just one day, they just decided, you have 1 month. Here's the thing. It's all securities. Figure it out. It's like, what? I don't think the rest of the world is like, hey, let's follow that. But you might find some people that say, let's just point to Canada because it happened there. We're going to use that as the example. Then we can remove any responsibility for that decision. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think they do have between those three platforms, they have a lot of institutional partners. I mean, I use Coinsquare for anything I need to do in Canada and have for years. They've all not been immune to their own controversy. Coinsquare was charged by regulators in Canada for market manipulation and wash trading and a bunch of other bullshit. Anyways, but I do think that they have a fairly aggressive, interesting approach for 2023. And we'll see. We'll see how it
One thing that I do like about this, I have to say, is the ability to onboard new people to crypto. So I live in Canada. I talk to a lot of people about crypto, as you may realize. And one of the biggest complaints I hear is, how do I know where to go? It seems very fragmented. I've ended up, for some people who are, crypto curious, crypto noobs, they come in and they're like, now I have all this crypto dust. I tried using this platform and it got shut down. I tried using this platform, but I couldn't move my money over here, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a high barrier to entry for just kind of the average layman who wants to throw $100 in and see how it works. And having a consolidated space where you can sports bet, yield, send international payments, do fractional stock trading, that kind of thing, it's useful, right? I can see it being a big way to onboard people in the next bull run. But then, I like competition. So
well, but I mean, I've been banging on this drum forever that we're not going to see meaningful mass adoption until we have some sort of, regulatory framework, because most people just aren't interested in jumping in and being 100% responsible for everything. I wish they were, because I think society would be better off if we all took responsibility for the things that we do. But that's just not how people are. So this is a step. Love it or hate it, I believe in the right in the right direction. At least we're getting
Is
some
what we're doing.
We're getting some clarity in Canada. Anyways, all right.
Well, we're getting less clarity in America, where we have the CFTC and we have the SEC, and they're kind of butting heads, and they're both trying to run their own lawsuits. But then for Financial Literacy Month, I think it is, National Financial Capability Month in America, the SEC has come out and is doing education events about how to cautiously invest in crypto. They are primarily going to be targeting these to high school students, seniors, Indigenous peoples, and the military.
What? Probably because anybody else won't take it seriously. Have you seen the educational videos that Gensler puts out? Like they're pretty cool.
I think we showed one, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I don't know if we showed one, but we talked about it. They're pretty cringe and pretty condescending and patronizing. So anybody, not that those demographics also won't feel that, but they're probably a little less likely to be to be annoyed by it. How do I feel about this? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Like I think it's good in the sense that both the CFTC and SEC are more or less acknowledging that crypto and blockchain are here to stay. Mm-hmm. So they're not implying that they're going to get rid of it because they're trying to educate people. My concern is the content of these discussions. Are they going to be trying to pursue their own ends? Is the SEC going to be telling all these people that everything's a security? Is the CFTC going to be telling everybody that everything is a commodity? I don't know. So that'll be interesting to see. But at the very least, it should hopefully give us more insight. If we follow this, we can see what both regulators' positions at least are publicly currently, and make some assessments based on that. So
it is supposed to be investing for everyone. And I like the idea that it's investing for everybody, except that as you can see from the Cointelegraph and the other articles from the SEC account themselves, that it's primarily about how to not get scammed. And so just kind of setting up that narrative does create a lot of FUD in the space too, right? If we were just talking about how Canadians might be more likely to enter because we have one area, like one company that you can enter with and feel confident with. Meanwhile, the SEC is undermining any American version of that by being like, don't get scammed, careful out there.
I've got a sneeze on deck. Oh my God.
Killing me, JD.
I don't want to.
All right. That's the SEC. That's all that's happening with them. There's not new lawsuits today, thankfully, although there were a few yesterday. We'll maybe do that on Friday. I don't know. But we do have some good news about Euler Labs.
Yeah. 177 million of the 200 million roughly has been returned. Super exciting. It only took 23 days apparently after the hack. So that's pretty impressive. This is one of the first that I'm aware of that this amount was returned so quickly. Not a whole lot that we need to even say about this other than it's good. Like
I read something really funny about it though, that I just have to throw out there, which is that they were offering a $1 million bounty, as you see on the scroller, thus ending the $1 million bounty. I read that people, even though the exploiter already came forward and that was already in the news, people have continued to make reports, and a lot of those reports are guessing so that they can get their $1 million. Just like hoping that they've guessed the right person so that Euler will pay them out.
Yeah, that's also ridiculous because now you get people that are being blamed for something that probably had nothing to do with it. Totally ridiculous. Like I whatever. But the silver lining here is the Euler team, like I've said many times, an incredible group of people, highly educated. I believe they have product design ideas that really are going to move the space forward. There's a lot of really meaningful people that were committed to their platform that were potentially going to lose a lot of money. And they've been made mainly whole, which I think is pretty incredible. And Euler can continue where a few weeks ago it looked like they may not be able to. And so that to me is very promising. It's very reassuring that we've gotten to this point. I hate that it happens. I hate that these hacks and exploits happen, but we are getting better. This is a testament, I think, to the forensic.
This one went well.
Yeah, well, we are as a space getting better. I mean, Chainalysis, for those who don't know, does a lot of forensic after the fact analysis to trace funds and figure out where things are going to aid law enforcement globally. And they're insanely sophisticated. Like we know them fairly well, and their ability and capacity to trace this stuff is pretty top notch. So again, I think this is a testament. We are getting better as a space. I hope to see less and less of these, of course, but we are the incentives are becoming smaller and smaller for people to do this. It's much more difficult to get away with it. Global law enforcement is a lot more tuned in now to how this works, as evidenced by all of the arrests globally of some of these bad actors in the space. So we'll have to see, but we can end on a good note for today.
Okay, before we go,
oh.
Random Rick from Twitch
Oh.
doesn't believe in crypto. He just wants chicken and water and batteries. And you know what? I already stockpile water and batteries because I live in the north like a crazy person, and I'm 90.
Yeah, thanks for watching, my friend. Although I kind of don't necessarily agree entirely that it's just water and batteries, I do think that there is definitely a non-zero risk that we are in for some serious pain globally from an economic perspective. How that impacts crypto might be interesting. Some people believe that there's going to be a flight to crypto. I'm not sure I completely agree yet. But I do think that it may have a neutral or slightly positive impact on crypto, not financial advice.
I don't know about a flight to crypto, but what about a flight to blockchain? Like, we'll want to immutably own what we own during times of turmoil.
Yeah, it could be. That's a good point. There's two ways to look at that, right? The first one is, what do you do with your assets, like in order to try to earn yield or try to not lose value due to inflation, which will, if this all goes to hell in a handbasket, inflation will get out of control. That's because the government will try to print our way out of it. That's the only way that they can try to defend against it. Generally, when it gets that bad, and inflation will go bananas. And if you had your money in fiat, banks would be going under. Your fiat's worth a lot less. So yeah, I mean, there is a non-zero chance all of that crap could happen. But in an effort to avoid that crap, people are going to say, okay, so where do we put our assets? Gold, precious metals, a few other like physical assets, diamonds, a few other things. But are you going to be carrying around diamonds or a gold bar to buy groceries? Hopefully not. I mean, I don't think crypto is a perfect solution for this, but it'll be interesting. But good point, Random Rick. I think, we probably should, be paying attention to this stuff for
Absolutely.
Sure.
I do think also, like, I hypothetically make a lot of jokes about having a Bitcoin-backed USD, like a Bitcoin-backed fiat or something to that end. But when we think about that in a broader sense, we are going to have asset-backed, like water-backed, battery-backed, food-backed, because some people will go back to bartering, especially if they're further from a main city and that kind of thing. But I also like to laugh about it because I love the idea of the central banking system having to be like, we've Bitcoin backed or we've water backed our fiat. For some reason, it's hilarious to me. I
mean, we could have jokingly said that we're going to back our fiat with the petroleum reserve in America too. But wait, oops, we accidentally sold that to a whole bunch of foreign countries, and now it's at the lowest level in 40 years. So,
all right, go fund yourself, Ding.
Go fund yourself. Random Rick, thanks, brother, for the question. I'm not sure if that's you that watches on a regular basis, but appreciate the questions. Keep them coming. Happy to answer. Everybody else, go fund yourself. Have a beautiful day. We'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time.
Later.
12:30 Eastern. Like, subscribe, share, do all that shit. Later.